everybody, welcome back to Movieverse. My name is Brian, and today I'm introducing to you Shad, our writer from MovieverseOnline.com. He also has his own website, YouTube channel, that type of thing on Twitch as well, right? Called Polynerdic. So Shad, why don't you talk a little bit about Polynerdic and what you do for us here at Movieverse?
All right. For Movieverse, I primarily write a lot of reviews and opinion pieces on MovieverseOnline.com. Polynerdic is a thing I started a long time ago. It skews heavy to video games and some comic book stuff. I keep all my movie stuff primarily for Brian here on Movieverse and stick strictly to long plays of streams. I upload them to YouTube, and once they're all compiled, I put them on Polynerdic. So if you want to check out both polynerdic.wordpress.com and Polynerdic on YouTube, it'd be appreciated.
Yeah, and you recently, you just mentioned that you write opinion pieces for Movieverse and some trailer reviews and movie reviews and stuff like that. You recently wrote kind of like an opinion piece based on like the Civil War trailer that we got, which I really enjoyed, and it's over on MovieverseOnline.com, so you guys can check that out. But let's go ahead and get into the news topics for today, and we're going to talk about the Captain America Civil War trailer number 2 that dropped this past week. Obviously, I'm on Team Iron Man.
Yeah, my side's pretty clear too.
And he's on Team Cap, so we have different viewpoints of the sides in the comics and coming up into this movie. But what were your overall thoughts on the trailer itself?
I absolutely love this trailer. I think it's one of the best ones that has come out this year for all these trailers we've been bombarded with.
Yeah.
I like the way it was cut. It revealed a little more of the story and what the plot is without giving away too much, and showed plenty of good action. And of course, there was the Spiderman reveal at the end.
Yeah.
That was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing that stuck out was like there was action in it, but I think that the focus of the trailer was more to show the mindset between both Iron Man and Captain America.
It did a really good job of defining that line.
Yeah, of like showing the difference in their ideologies and why they would be on different sides. Maybe not that the fact that it's not that they hate each other, but it's that they believe in two separate ideals here, and so that kind of creates that separation between them and what divides the overall team. And it kind of even in the there's a scene where Black Widow says, I'm not the one that needs to watch their back, and she says it to Tony. So, and she's on Tony Stark's side, so it kind of like gives you the idea that there might be people who jump ship and go to the other side at some point
between the teams.
Yeah, which it would make sense for Black Widow to go to Cap's side because they built up such a rapport in the Winter Soldier. And you mentioned Spider-Man's costume, and just the whole thing with the specific shot that they used to reveal him in the trailer, I felt was made specifically for fans.
Yes. Because
you have Tony Stark saying, all right, I'm losing my patience, right? Which kind of speaks to the ideas of the fans, like losing our patience, wanting to see Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, it was a nice touch.
And so then Spider-Man steals Captain's shield and holds it, which that symbol firmly plants himself in the MCU. Like holding Cap's shield is like done deal, 100% he's in the MCU, right? And then he he's looking just off camera and he says, hey guys, basically like addressing the viewers. So that clip specifically was used as like a message to the fans saying, hey, Spider-Man is finally here, get excited, right? And he has the web shooters, the mechanical web shooters, right? He has like a little belt that has the cartridges on it. And what do you think about like just the overall design of the Spidey suit itself?
I liked it because it's a throwback to the old days, the Ditko days of Spider-Man. It's really solid primary color, red and blue.
It was very bright too.
Yeah, the only thing I didn't like about it is the tiny spider.
Yeah,
I can deal with that. Because there's a real quick look on the one on his back. Yeah, it's the proper size.
Yeah.
My only complaint is that little tiny spider.
Yeah.
I wish it was just a little bit bigger.
I really liked the fact that his eyes were emotive, and Deadpool, his eyes were emotive too, but they didn't explain why they were emotive, right? Which for this, you kind of hear a little bit of like a sound effect of like a kind of like a camera lens,
almost like a
when it contracts, right? So, and that makes sense because Peter Parker, he does photography and all that kind of stuff. So it makes sense that like maybe if Tony Stark did have some type of say or input in the design of his costume, that Tony Stark would kind of like work that in.
Yeah, that's my theory, is his suit that we see there is Stark made.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that maybe Stark found him in more of a unprofessional, like he calls him Underoos, so I'm betting it's something like Long John looking get up that he sees originally.
Like maybe some like sweatpants and a sweatshirt or something. Yeah. Well, because we saw there's like some there was some type of like image that leaked a while ago where people thought that it was like the real like look for Spider-Man, and it was more of like a sweatshirt like with a hoodie and like a made mask with like, you know, some like goggles or whatever.
That's basically how he looks in the comics when he first starts out when he's wrestling. You know, he's got this stitched together.
Yeah.
You know, basically long underwear looking uniform on.
You know what's funny is I watched this past weekend. Me and my girlfriend were celebrating our anniversary, and I basically I didn't make her because she likes the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, but we watched the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, and actually, you know, I watched the third one, right? And there are some issues with it, right?
yeah.
But like it's not on the same level as like I would put like Fantastic Four,
no, not at all. No.
or X-Men Last Stand. I know there's a lot of issues with the X-Men Last Stand too, but like honestly, like some of the comedy was actually like stuck for me, but then there was some of it where like he's like dancing to like this jazz music or whatever.
That's the worst part of the
and I'm
movie.
just like, this is rough to watch. And really, some of the dialogue throughout the whole entire movie was kind of rough, but like that just kind of like shows like where the superhero genre was when those Spider-Man movies came out.
And I read a rumor a long time ago that the Sam Raimi did not want the Venom stuff in that movie. The studio made him. Yeah. And so all that crap that everyone hates, the dancing and this kind of emo-y behavior, was kind of like an F you to the studio. Like, if you're going to make me do this, I'm going to do it this way.
Like the emo hair where he like brushes it down and he's like,
Solar flip.
Yeah, I really laughed at that part. All right, so now we've talked about Spider-Man's costume. We have a report saying that the Civil War, the runtime for Captain America Civil War is just under 2.5 hours, just a few minutes shy of Batman v Superman. And some people are asking the question, well, you know, because the reception has been more positive for Civil War than it has been for Batman v Superman as far as the runtime is concerned. A lot of people are kind of like, well, you know, the runtime for Batman and Superman could be good or it could be bad. But for Civil War, people are saying that, you know, there's very little negative comments about it. And so people are kind of like wondering, like, well, why is that? And the only thing that I can really say is that over Phase 1 and Phase 2, we've built up a emotional connection with the characters that they have in Civil War. So when you have something like a movie called Civil War and what we know that means from the comics, it only makes sense to have a movie that's a pretty long movie, because there's going to be a lot of things that are going on. People might flip sides, you know, people might die, so you're gonna have to deal with all that kind of stuff. Plus, and you wouldn't know it from the trailers or any of the promotional material, but we do have a main villain in Baron Zemo that's going to be in the movie, and we haven't seen anything of him. So you know that's going to have to be touched on in the movie as well. So what is your thoughts on the runtime for Captain America Civil War?
I think it needs that runtime. Yeah. You can't do a story this scale. I mean, they're calling it the Godfather of... Yeah. You know, and not the Godfather as in the Forerunner, but the Godfather as in the Godfather movie. Yeah. That's a long movie. It needed to be long to tell that story. Yeah. This movie needs the length. Yeah. If you take the length out, you can't get it. You'd be guilty of having to cram more in a shorter time, and it would botch the film.
Yeah, and there's... The Russo brothers have said that this movie is going to be darker in tone than the rest of the MCU movies. And there were some people who saw the Comic-Con footage for Civil War, and there were some jokes in there, and they got really concerned. They're like, okay, well, what is this? Is this like sparring practice, or are they actually going to be fighting, right? And I think that one of the things that the trailer did, it shows Bucky firing a gun, like basically point blank at Tony Stark, and luckily he had a glove, an Iron Man glove on to like catch it. But like I think that kind of answers the question of whether or not this movie is going to be taking itself seriously, whether or not it's going to be an actual fight between the two sides.
Well, on the footage of Rhodes falling out of the sky, I mean, that's pretty high stakes stuff there. He's obviously hurt. Yeah. I don't believe he's dead. I don't think they'd give that away.
No, they would not give that away in the trailer. But he's definitely injured. He might be, in critical condition after that, but I don't think he's going to die. But yeah, I do think somebody's going to die, especially since they compare it to The Godfather. Yeah. Somebody's going to die. A big character's going to die. We just don't know who it is. One more question I have about Civil War for you is: Do you think that Captain America's going to die, or do you think that they're going to do a switch on us and Iron Man will die, or do you think that neither of those two characters will die?
I'm fearful that Cap will die, because it's to spoil a 10-year-old story, that's what happens in the comics. And
wasn't Crossbones? Did he have a role in that, or was it just I know Agent 13 did.
Yeah, Agent 13 did, and I don't think Crossbones
did. Okay, well I know that Agent 13 had a role in that. but wasn't she like kind of
yeah,
mind
it was some
controlled
sort
or
of
something?
mind controlled brainwash thing.
Yeah.
Like, I've not read enough past Civil War to figure out to put the pieces back together.
Yeah.
Because I skipped from Civil War to Avengers versus X-Men.
Yeah.
And Cap was back by then, so
Yeah.
I missed a big piece of that.
Spoiler alert: he came back because people don't die in the comics and don't come back.
Unless your Uncle Ben.
Yeah, well, that's one character you can't bring back.
Yeah, Uncle Ben's the only guy
that'll destroy the well. That and I mean, they even brought back Gwen Stacy, didn't they?
Yeah, Gwen Stacy's back.
Yeah, I mean, but like, Uncle Ben is like the reason why Peter Parker becomes like a hero.
Yeah,
so like you can't really take that away because then he wouldn't be a hero. And last thing I want to talk about Marvel for a second is this theory that I had, because there's been reports that there's reports that Hela will be in Thor Ragnarok, and that there's rumors going around that she's going to be taking the place of Mistress Death in the MCU. And so my thought process is, there's this book called Infinity, where it was another story where Thanos is trying to take over the Earth, and he has basically these generals called the Black Order, the Obsidian Steed, I think it was, but yeah, the Black Order, and they're basically like his generals, and they're all very powerful on their own, like to be able to stand up on their own with heroes.
So kind of Thanos' version of the Four Horsemen with Apocalypse.
Kind of, yeah. Okay. But there's more of them than four. I think there was like 6 or something like that. But I had this theory about, because in Infinity Gauntlet, Thanos is in love with Mistress Death, and he's always trying to win her affection by, creating death, basically. To where he, ends half the life in the universe with the glove.
Yeah, basically just snaps his finger.
With the Infinity Gauntlet, yeah. So my thought process is, if Hela is playing a role in Thor Ragnarok, and I think it's Cate Blanchett that's playing her, so big name actress.
Yeah.
And if she does take the role of Mistress Death in the movies, my question is, do you think that they could make their own version of the Black Order for the MCU using villains who have already died, and maybe Thanos and Mistress Death or Hela are working together, and she brings back these villains that have died to be the generals of Thanos to try to help him take over the Earth?
I think it would be a great idea if they did. It would help pad that character count that they've talked about, the 67, 68 characters.
Yeah. Also, it would help with the with people's complaints about some of the villains being underdeveloped, and then they just kill them off after the one movie.
Like Ronan, Red Skull, a number of them.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea, and I hope that's what they're going for.
Yeah. I mean, in my free time, whenever I'm like at work, I'm always like listening to like podcasts, whether it be like Marvel news or Batman news from superheronews.com, and some like other ones. But like, I heard them talking about the Black Order, and then I'm just like, well, what if they do this with the Black Order? And I think it'd be a really good way to, use the title the Black Order, because I think that'd be a badass name to use
for his
in a movie. Yeah, and it would fix the problem that people have with Avengers and Avengers 2 with like just basically like an army without a face, what I mean, like the Chitauri, the Ultron bots, you know what I mean, like it's kind of just like goons for them to like take out.
They're basically mooks to be wiped out. It's that way, and then especially in a way that they're not humanized, so you don't feel anything about their destruction. It's kind of like they did with the prequels, making them clones. It dehumanizes them, and you no longer feel, it's like, I just wipe them out.
Exactly. So I would like to see these basically like generals come back, and so that like that way they can hold their own like 1-to-1 against or 1-2 or whatever, and then like that could be like part 1, and then part 2 is just like Thanos all powerful and like all the heroes and all the like the cosmic forces and like all that kind of stuff going after Thanos to try to stop him. I think that'd be a great idea for Infinity Part 1 and Part 2, and it's 2 parts, so it's like you have that that difference of what you can do. Because I know
that's the stuff I'm looking forward to, is that crazy cosmic stuff.
Oh my gosh,
that's gonna be out there.
I hope they use like the Eternals and like all that stuff, because like I mean that stuff from Infinity Gauntlet in the comic books was so kind of like trippy and like out there.
We won't be able to get a proper Galactus though, will we? Because he
is a Fantastic Four property.
Right.
So if no deal is made, or has been made, we will not get Galactus. No.
We need a proper Galactus.
I know, not
a Stormcloud Galactus.
That's what I've been saying for years, is that we need the rights to Fantastic Four back to Marvel, so that maybe not so we can use Fantastic Four, but so we can use Silver Surfer, Galactus, Kang the Conqueror. He's with the Fantastic Four mythos. And there's quite a few others. But yeah, I just wanted to bring up that theory and put it on the internet so that if it comes true, I can be like, hey, back in 2016. I was saying this.
Brian said it first.
You heard it here first, folks. All right, so let's move on to our next topic. All right, so moving on to our next topic, Justice League. There's a report saying that Justice League will be in a lighter tone, and that comes from the writer Chris Terrio. He compared Batman v Superman to be like the sequel, the second movie in a trilogy, and he says like basically like The Empire Strikes Back, it's always the darkest film of the trilogy. But he's saying that he thinks Justice League will be lighter in tone from Batman v Superman. My thoughts on this is the fact that I think with characters like the Flash and Cyborg and other comical characters, I think it has to be lighter in tone, otherwise it's not going to work. You can't make Flash super serious because then you lose the personality of the character.
Yeah, that's a big part of his character.
So what do you think about Justice League being lighter in tone than Batman v Superman?
I think it needs to be.
Yeah.
Because Man of Steel was pretty dark, especially for Superman property.
Yeah.
And the marketing of Batman vs Superman looks like it's several shades darker than Man of Steel was.
Yeah. We got Batman in there.
Yeah, they can't keep going that way.
Yeah.
As much as I like a good dark superhero movie, they got to bring the tone back up.
Yeah. I actually really enjoyed Man of Steel, and I think it's because I didn't read Superman comics growing up.
I'm in the same boat.
And so,
never been a fan of Superman.
So I've seen Superman Returns where he doesn't punch anything. I've seen the original Superman. I've seen that. I mean, it's been a long time ago, but I've seen the original. And I've seen like the Justice League cartoons and all that stuff. But I thought that the Man of Steel version of Superman actually was a more realistic Superman. Like if there was a guy, right, who had been raised by these people in Kansas all of his life, and then he becomes a teenager, and his dad tells him that he has superpowers and he's from another, like I feel like that would be how he acts, because his dad raised him to like be like, hey, you have these powers, but you have to be careful of like people finding out, because you don't know how they're gonna if they're gonna be scared of you or if they're gonna welcome you, that kind of thing. Right. And I know people say, well, that's not how Paul Kent would act, or teach Clark Kent how to act. I still appreciated the way that it was made. It was a more modernized version of Superman.
I don't honestly think the old version of the character would work nowadays.
Oh, it wouldn't.
He's way too much of a Boy Scout to use the pejorative.
Well, I think kind of Superman Returns kind of showed us that, right? Because he was kind of like a Boy Scout. He didn't he didn't really have a lot of. I mean, he was like peeping on Lois Lane like outside her house when she was married with a kid, and that's just I don't know.
That was a bad Superman movie.
Yeah, but yeah. So what are your thoughts? I mean, you said that you think that Justice League does need to get lighter from Batman v Superman, and we have some more Justice League news. But first, we'll go to like the fact that Batman v Superman is going to have a rated R cut that's going to release with the Blu-ray. Right. So that kind of talks about how dark Batman v Superman is, and if you keep going darker with Justice League and stuff like that, eventually it's going to become rated R if you go any darker, right?
Yeah, right.
So I mean, like Batman v Superman is rated R, but they're like cutting that part out of the theatrical cut.
Right.
So,
which I'm curious as to what they're cutting out that's going to make it R for the Blu-ray.
I would love to see something like. We've also heard that Jenna Malone's character has been cut from the film, from the theatrical version, but she will be on the Blu-ray version.
Oh, she's going to make it in the Blu-ray?
Yes, she's going to be on the Blu-ray, the R-rated Blu-ray cut. And Zack Snyder said that she's not playing Batgirl or Robin.
Okay.
But what he did not say that she's not playing Barbara Gordon.
Right.
So my thought is maybe she's playing Barbara Gordon, maybe before Batgirl, or maybe after Batgirl, or she was never Batgirl, but she's playing Oracle.
Yeah, that's
and if she's playing Oracle and she's wheelchair bound, we might get a scene of Joker shooting her in the back.
Right, yeah, we might get the Killing Joke.
So that would be interesting to see in the rated R cut. Personally, I kind of want to see the scene where Joker kills Jason Todd.
Yeah,
I think that'd be a very interesting thing to see in the rated R cut.
If that's the dead Robin,
I think that is the dead Robin. Did you see the picture where it was kind of like further out, so where you could see like it was actually shorts on the suit and not pants?
No, I didn't see that.
It's shorts.
Shorts.
It's not pants. So that would you would think that would make a younger Robin outfit, right?
It kind of rules out Tim Drake, because Tim Drake always wore pants.
Yeah. I would love to see Jason Todd. I would love to have Dick Grayson as Nightwing in this universe. I think that'd be really cool to see.
Like the Suicide Squad rumors where they think Scott Eastwood might be playing him.
Yeah.
Because they still haven't named who he is yet.
And I would just really like to see a Under the Red Hood type of
I
storyline
would love that.
for the movies.
I'm dying for a live action Under the Red Hood.
That animated movie is probably one of my favorite. That and Justice League Doom, I think, are two of my favorite animated movies from DC. Yeah. Justice League Doom was so awesome. Like, just the fact that Batman had all these like backup plans in case the Justice League went bad, and then like somebody takes those ideas and uses it against Justice League, and then he has to like save them because he knows.
Yeah, that's derived from Tower of Babel. Have you ever read that one?
No, I haven't.
That's a great old DC story.
And it would make sense in this universe because Batman is so hesitant to trust Superman, and from what I'm reading in reports and stuff, he's kind of hesitant to trust any of the superpowered people that he's gonna be coming in contact with. But moving on to some more Justice League news. Unfortunately, we're not going to see J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson again because he has been cast as Commissioner Gordon for the Justice League movie. But for me, this is less about Justice League and this is more about the Batman solo films.
Right, yes, definitely.
He might make an appearance in Justice League, but he's definitely going to be in the Batman standalone movies.
Gordon has to be. You can almost not have Batman without Gordon, just like Batman without Alfred.
As long as they don't have Commissioner Gordon use a mech bat suit
like the current run.
Yeah, I can't even, I haven't even started reading that because I'm just like, that's not Batman. That's not Batman to me. I'm waiting for the rebirth so I can start reading that stuff. Even though, like I said, I was telling you earlier, I have stacks of comics over that I haven't had a chance to read, but I've been picking them up continuously. But what are your thoughts about J.K. Simmons joining the DC universe as Jim Gordon? People who like, oh well, he's more, they think of him from J. Jonah Jameson, and they think of him as like a comical actor. But it's like, have you seen the movie Whiplash?
No, but I know he's good in it.
He's amazing in it, and he's so intimidating. Like I'm a drummer, and watching that movie, it made me like anxious to watch that movie. But what are your thoughts on J.K. Simmons joining the DC universe?
Two feelings about it. I'm sad that we won't see him as J. Jonah Jameson.
I know, because so many fans wanted to see him back.
Because he was so good at that.
Yeah, he was.
But he's such a good actor. I think he's a great choice for Jim Gordon.
Yeah, like I said, I just watched the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans, and he was like the highlight of those movies for me.
He's so good in those movies.
Yeah,
but he's a great actor.
Oh, he is.
Much like Gary Oldman was in the Nolanverse. Yeah. You need a strong actor to play Gordon because he's a big part of the Batman mythos.
But you want to talk about the Batman mythos? J.K. Simmons, an Academy Award-winning actor for his role as a supporting actor in Whiplash. Right. You have Ben Affleck; he's an Academy Award-winning actor and director. Then you have Jared Leto; he won for Best Supporting. What's the other one? Jeremy Irons. He's an Academy Award winner. So it's like you're adding all this Academy talent, like all these guys who have won the biggest award that you can as an actor, right? Or as a director.
And they're all in a silly comic book.
And they're all, Well, DC definitely takes themselves seriously, but I mean, I think that the perception of comic book movies is definitely changing.
Oh, I'm so glad it has to.
And yeah, because we're getting movies like Batman v Superman, like Civil War. I mean, Civil War is like, I think Civil War was actually the first comic book story that I read. Literally, I think it was because I was trying to get into reading comic books about a year and a half to 2 years ago, and I went to I was like, what do I need to read? And I heard that Civil War was coming out. I'm like, oh, I'll read that book, and I loved it. I also read Infinity Gauntlet. What are some other ones? I read The Age of Ultron. I still haven't read Winter Soldier, but I've read like the New 52, like Court of Owls, City of Owls, that Batman storyline.
Yeah, those are great stories too.
I've read Hush. Like I've read a lot of like some like the quintessential like stories that you need to read. I got Blackest Night for Green Lantern yesterday. I'm gonna be reading that soon.
That's a fantastic story too.
But it's amazing to think that. I mean, luckily I didn't have to go from like my childhood to like now without superhero movies or good superhero movies. But like it's just amazing that we're getting these movies that are taking themselves seriously. They're telling us great stories. That's the thing. They're not just action movies or sci-fi movies. They're great stories. Or like I
said, silly comic book movies.
Yeah,
like they're good movies.
Like we had Winter Soldier, which was very much a 70s style political thriller, even with Robert Redford, the guy who did political thrillers in the 70s. Yep. And even though like it wasn't as like you could definitely see it coming. You know what I mean? But like it was still a good movie.
Right.
And then like you have Civil War, which they're calling a psychological thriller.
Yeah. They've compared it to Seven, which I find weird.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie, so yeah.
You've not seen Seven?
No, I have not.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I've not seen Seven. like I said, like in high school, I was unable to like pay that much attention to movies because I was so busy. So then, like after I got out of high school, then I started watching movies. And
honestly, I'm not sure how well it holds up today because it is an older movie. But it's one of my favorite long-term movies.
Heat was a really good movie.
Yes. Heat.
Anyway, so we'll move on to our next topic. The Han Solo movie is supposed to include the origin story of Chewbacca, how he became, how he got his life debt to Han. What do you think about it showing Chewbacca's origin story? Do we need it? Do you want to see it? What are your thoughts?
If that's what they give us, I'll be happy with it.
Yeah.
I'd just be just as happy without it.
Yeah.
Actually, what I found most intriguing of that story was the kind of like throwaway comment that there may be more Han Solo movies to come afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I think a Han Solo franchise could be like not unlike a James Bond or a Mission Impossible.
Right.
Like, you know, like there's franchises where it evolves like this one character and you see their adventures, right? Because that's what it is. I'm not saying that Han Solo is going to be a spy movie.
Right.
I'm just saying like it's one character, but you're showing that character's adventures over years.
Well, I mean, since they scrapped the EU, they need to reestablish his history.
Yeah.
And
this whole entire thing is all canon now, right? The comics, the new books that they're putting out, the movies, like all of it's canon.
I mean, they are kind of cherry picking from the EU.
Yeah.
But I'm looking for. I love the idea of there being maybe just a trilogy of Han Solo films.
Yeah.
Where we see the beginning of that life debt, then here's some more adventures with Han and Chewie, and then some more.
Yeah.
You know, and the biggest concern for me overall is who are they going to pick? Because that's the hard one. Because some of the names they floated out there earlier.
Are you talking about the Han Solo or Chewbacca?
The Han Solo.
Okay.
Yeah. Like who's going to play Han? That's the big question.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to see anybody else playing Han until we see it. So I'm not going to comment on that because there are some good actors who I think could pull it off, but it's hard to see anybody in that role because it is, whenever I think of Harrison Ford, I think of Han Solo from like the original trilogy. That's how I remember Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
I
see Han and then Indy.
Exactly. Yeah. I see Han first, and then I see it's gonna be hard to see anybody else in that role until we actually do see it. Moving on, there's reports that are saying Daisy Ridley is being is in the process of being considered for the Lara Croft reboot or new franchise, and I actually I hadn't even put her name in the hat, but now that I've heard it, I actually really do like it. I think that she could probably use a little bit more muscle, to play the role. But as far as what I think the character should be, I think that she could play it, and especially since the new movies are going to be kind of not based off of, but they're going to be closer to the new Lara Croft video games,
right?
Which I haven't played Rise, but I played the first new Tomb Raider one, and I really enjoyed that version of the character. And I think that Daisy really would be a good fit for that.
Because they kind of pulled back on the sexy and just made her a every woman kind of character.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think if they do that, it'll work.
Yeah.
It could work. Like you said, she needs to bulk up a little bit, but that Hollywood actress.
It's definitely not an Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider, which is fine. Like, you know, I like those for what they were. But I'm glad that they're going in this new direction with it. But Daisy Ridley, I mean, I follow her on social media. She's always posting like videos or pictures of her like lifting weights and stuff. And like she could probably beat me up at this point.
And they have time between the Star Wars movies for her to do other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, she's doing a lot of training for Star Wars, and that could help her prepare for a role with Lara Croft. And she's actually British too, so that works. And so the last news topic before we get into our quick hits. Is a little bit controversial, but we have 6 minutes to talk about it. So Venom might be having his own movie at Sony, separate from the Spider-Man in the MCU. Now, a lot of people will say you can't have Venom without Spider-Man.
Right, that's a tough one to do.
So what are your thoughts on the fact that Sony might be, like, for me, I'm just kind of like, Sony, just stop. Like, let Marvel help you with your, you can have your Spider-Man universe that's also connected to the MCU. And I understand that Sony's probably wants to have their own creative freedom with the movies, but their creative freedom hasn't worked out well in the past.
No, not at all.
So what are your thoughts with them saying that Venom could have his own movie separate from the MCU Spider-Man?
I'm intrigued by it, but horribly worried.
Yeah.
Because of what you just said.
Well, especially because Avi Arad is attached.
Right.
And, that's kind of the issue that people have had with the Spider-Man movies in the past is that Avi Arad has been attached to all of them,
right.
and he doesn't always have the greatest input. I don't know the guy personally, obviously.
Right.
I don't know
the results of what he's had his hands in. You know, his proven track record of not being satisfactory movies.
Yeah.
And like you said, I can't quite fathom Venom without Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because they're intertwined. I
yeah.
mean, like, if the symbiote doesn't join with Parker, it doesn't become Venom. It doesn't pick up his attributes. It doesn't become the Spider-Man-like thing that it is.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not familiar with Venom, the character from the comics. All I know of Venom is the movie.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's not a good take.
No,
on it.
yeah, and I understand that that's not the true Venom. So that's why I'm kind of ignorant to actual Venom, and that's why I want to get your take on it.
Well, and there's further down the line too. Like Venom is currently a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
You know, Venom Space Knight, I think is what they refer to him as.
Yeah.
So that's again, you can't follow the character down its proper path.
Well,
because
also
without crossing over to the MCU.
Also, one of the things I want to know, if it's separate from the MCU Spider-Man, the MCU Spider-Man is going to be using Spider-Man's rogue gallery.
Right.
So, like, what is Venom going to be doing?
Right.
Like, what are you going to have access to that he can, like, fight or whatever? Is he just going to, like, fight random stuff that you make up off the top of your head?
Right. There's a lot of unanswered questions with this idea. And I think it's better left alone. As much as I love Venom as a Spider-Man villain and anti-hero.
Yeah.
Leave him be.
Yeah.
Incorporate him in the MCU.
That's the thing. I'm just like, Sony, look, you made this deal with Marvel for Spider-Man. Take advantage of it. Use their advice. Kevin Feige has been working on Marvel movies since the original X-Men movie.
Right.
And you see what he's been doing with the MCU.
They were, 13 films in now or something like that?
It's working.
Yeah.
Take his advice. Take his, his coaching and all that stuff. And, just don't try to make it separate from Spider-Man because it's not going to work. Right?
You've screwed up enough. Stop. Just let it go.
You've done enough already.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to our quick hits. All right. So the first topic of our quick hits is we have 2 X-Men posters. One shows the heroes and one shows Apocalypse and his 4 horsemen, right? And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because there's such a difference between the hero poster and the villain poster. They're design wise, like as far as like the poster, like actual geometry of it is very similar. You have Apocalypse and Professor X there at the top, and then you have like the people down at the bottom. But the difference I wanted to bring up is that the villains look so much closer to their comic book counterparts, whereas the heroes are just in the typical black, like leather armor type Bryan Singer-esque uniforms, right? And I'm just kind of like, why would you be so okay with the villains looking comic accurate but not the heroes? I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, we've seen pictures like Jubilee with like your classic like yellow like jacket and like glasses and stuff, but I don't think that that's when they're like in a fight.
No,
right?
That seems to be like, because it looks like
on the street
social setting.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why they refuse to give in and just do the yellow and blue.
Yeah.
In Deadpool, we kind of saw a traditional.
Oh yeah, they went with it. Well, not only the traditional X-Men costume, but also the Deadpool costume was so comic book accurate. I know Ryan Reynolds has a lot of say in that movie, and he held it so close to the vest. But yeah, you're right. With Negasonic Teenage Warhead, she had the classic yellow and blue look.
It was almost black, but it looked like a dark blue.
Yeah, so and then like she even had like and she had like the X-Men symbol like on her collar, so it definitely showed like, hey, this is X-Men.
Well, and even Colossus's uniform was more of it was more close to what he wore in the X-Force, but it was still a proper comic book X-Men uniform.
Do you think that Colossus will be in X-Force?
I would hope so.
That'd be interesting because I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's in there's a couple covers for the Marvel Now run of X-Force where he's got a uniform on that looks real close to what he's wearing.
Gotcha. That'd be interesting because they have put release dates for 2 more Fox Marvel movies. No like title or anything like that.
Just these
so
placeholder dates.
People are thinking that it's going to be Deadpool 2 and X-Force.
Well,
so I think
do an X-Force.
I think that'd be interesting because I think X-Force could be their R-rated line, whereas X-Men is their PG-13 rated line, right? Yeah. So Deadpool, granted he could go back and forth, but I think in X-Force he could definitely use some of his vulgar humor and stuff like that. You could have Cable.
Yeah, good R-rated team films.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah. A lot of us adults would really appreciate that.
Yes.
I know that we both really appreciate Deadpool.
But with the like you said, the Singer-esque black leather, I'm so tired of seeing it.
Yeah.
I've been seeing it for 15 years now.
It's like, why do we have to have that? You know what I mean? Like, you have... Okay, you have I kind of understand some of it. Like you could be like, oh well, you know, some of the female costumes are sexualized. Well, look what you did with Psylocke. Like her costume is very much classic. Is it sexualized a little bit? Probably.
Yeah, it's mostly swimwear looking stuff.
But you've already done it.
High boots.
Yeah,
You know,
but like you like if that was your case for not making the heroes that way, you did it with the villain. So or like you know.
One of the villains.
Yeah, one of the villains who I don't know. She's an antagonist.
Right. Yeah,
We'll call Apocalypse the villain. She's the antagonist because she's under the control of Apocalypse or whatever. But so you did it with that side. Why can't you do it with the other side? And I just wish they weren't so afraid to do it. It'd be awesome. I would love to see it.
Well, and it's a small point for me, but it's Mystique. Jennifer Lawrence doesn't ever want to be blue for some reason.
Well, because she wants her face to be all over.
But Rebecca Romijn had no problem being a proper Mystique.
Well, yeah, but Rebecca Romijn was
a proper Mystique.
But I think the difference is Jennifer Lawrence is an Academy Award-winning actress. She's very she's highly sought after.
Right. Yeah,
so basically,
she's aware of her brand.
She can make her own terms.
Right.
What bothers me is that they're making her make it seem like she's like a co-leader with Professor X.
Yeah, that bothers me too.
That's where it bothers me. But whatever. We'll wait to see. I'm super excited for that movie.
Yeah, I'm not down on the movie at all.
I can't wait.
I'll be in line to see it when it comes out.
All right. So the next quick hit is Sylvester Stallone has been cast in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. He has been seen on set, and he is a Ravager. Nothing else has been said about his character. But what are your thoughts about Sylvester Stallone being in Guardians of the Galaxy 2? I think with James Gunn being the director and what he did with the Ravengers in the first movie, I think it's going to be hilarious. I think it's going to be a cameo. I don't think he's going to be a huge role. I think it's going to be a cameo, and I think it's going to be hilarious.
Yeah, it's James Gunn likes to do that.
Yeah.
Like he used Nathan Fillion in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, and no one recognized him.
Well, it was a voice and it was modulated.
Yeah. I
mean, he was basically the guy who made a prison.
But they did the same thing. They made a big deal about Nathan Fillion's got a cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy, and then it comes out, and you're like, well, I didn't see him. Where was he?
Yeah, but I mean, I think if Sylvester Stallone is going to be a Ravager, I think he's going to use the fact that like you're actually going to see his face.
Right.
Like you're going to know it's Sylvester Stallone. Which is actually interesting because since Peter Quill is so accustomed to the 80s, Rocky. I mean,
Rocky,
you know what I mean? Yeah. So I wonder if there's gonna be like a thing where Chris Pratt's gonna be like, you look familiar. You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't that be funny?
They could definitely have some fun with it.
Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah,
like, that'd be hilarious.
With it a bit, yeah.
Even though that'd be kind of, would that be kind of fourth wall breaking in a way? Or if you don't actually say like, didn't you play Rocky? As long as they don't say that.
Fourth wall, it would be more just self-referential.
Okay. Yeah. I think
fourth wall, he has to like direct. To the camera.
Okay, yeah, but I think it'd be interesting if he was like, "You look familiar. Like, do I know you?" Like,
they could do a little. Cause that's a fun little wink at the audience.
Yeah, that'd be funny. Moving on, Luke Cage has a premiere date. It's going to be in November. Or was it September? I think it's September 1st. September 1st?
I forget the actual date now that you mentioned.
I think it's September.
I know it's in September of this year.
I know they've been talking about how the Luke Cage or the Netflix shows are going to be premiering basically 6 months.
It was previously a November date, and then they bumped it back to September 30th.
Yeah, that's what it was, because there's this like small little video when they were bumping up they're ramping up for the Jessica Jones thing. They had a little clip that had like a folder on it that said Luke Cage, and it said November on it. So people thought it was going to be released in November, but this is saying that's going to be coming out in September actually. So what are your thoughts on starting September 30th, 2016? What were your thoughts on Daredevil and Jessica Jones? And are you looking forward to Luke Cage?
I'm interested in Luke Cage because I don't know a lot about the character. Same with like Jessica Jones. I didn't know a lot about her besides the fact that her and Luke have a kid in the comics. That's the only thing I knew about either character. Yeah. Or that Luke also teamed with Iron Fist quite a bit. Yeah. But I'm interested in seeing what they do with it. I love Daredevil. Yeah. I was okay with Jessica Jones. Okay. Like I liked that it tackled some really ugly issues. Yeah. And I liked Kilgrave. I thought he was a great villain. Mm-hmm. David Tennant is an amazing actor. He is. Yeah. I don't care for Kristen Ritter too much, so she kind of brought down my enjoyment of the show. Yeah. But I do, like I said, I give it lots of credit for tackling some real like date rape culture, or rape culture in general. Yeah. Is a huge issue. I'm a father of 2 girls, so I worry about that sort of thing all the time. So I was glad they tackled it. Like, hey, look at this ugliness in the world. Before Jessica Jones came out, and I've said this on the Movie News Show multiple times, I said that Jessica Jones had an opportunity to tackle some issues that
are never tackled in TV shows or movies,
Right,
or regardless, because they're because people are afraid to talk about
no
it.
one likes to talk about the ugliness of it,
Yeah,
all that it exists.
and I think Jessica Jones did a great job of tackling those issues. And you say you don't really care that much for Kristen Ritter. The only thing that I've seen Kristen Ritter in, I haven't seen Bitch in Apartment 23 or whatever it was called.
Yeah, whatever that was called.
Beware the Bee in Apartment 23, whatever it was. I saw her in a movie called She's Out of My League. And it was a comedy. It was a comedy, so it was very much a different role. But I loved her character in that movie. I love that movie. That's one of my favorite comedies of all time. And most people have not even heard of it. It has T.J. Miller in it.
Yeah, I love that movie too. I was trying to picture which one it was. It was like, the blonde and the little
Alice
skinny,
Eve.
Yeah.
Yep. I love that movie so much. It's so hilarious. But
I forgot she was in it.
Yeah, I saw her in that movie first. That's the only thing I've ever seen her in. So when she got announced, I'm like, well, I know the actress. I liked her in that movie, but it's a much different role. I'm like, how can she play it? And
she did a good job with the role.
I did my I haven't read the Alias comics. I did my research on what the story's about, what characters are involved, that kind of thing. I think the show did a great job of adapting the comic book and touching on these very serious issues. And having Luke Cage in there, and basically some people were kind of upset with the relationship that Luke Cage had with Jessica Jones. I'm like, well, that's how it is in the comics.
Right.
They started off as friends with benefits.
They start out real rough.
Yeah, they start out as friends with benefits, and then they eventually get together because it just makes sense, basically.
Right. They're two damaged souls.
It wasn't that they were deeply head over heels, like Nicholas Sparks' love story. It wasn't that type of thing. It was just hey, you're super powered, I'm super powered. We, it makes sense for us to be together.
Up without hurting each other.
We have a kid, you know what I mean? So their relationship, I thought, was really well adapted from the comics. And so I don't know much about Luke Cage like you. I haven't read Luke Cage comics. I kind of want to read the Luke Cage and Iron Fist current storyline that's coming out.
Ramping up the Iron Fist show too.
I kind of want to see that. But yeah. So I think I'm excited to see what they do with Luke Cage. I'm really excited for Dead Arrow season 2. Punisher,
it's
Elektra.
Friday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Friday.
I'm so excited. House of Cards just came out last week, and I've already finished that.
I'm 2 seasons behind.
Oh my gosh, this show is so good. Anyways, but yeah, Luke Cage, I'm super excited to see what they do with that character. I really enjoyed the character from the Jessica Jones story season.
Well, like I said, as much as I dislike Kristen Ritter as an actress, not as a person, as an actress, she did a phenomenal job with the material.
Yeah,
she made an ugly, gritty story work.
What are your thoughts on the casting of Finn Jones' Iron Fist?
I think he looks like Daniel Rand.
Yeah.
Because Daniel Rand's a white guy with blonde curly hair, kind of shoulder length.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people were upset because they were hoping for an Asian American.
Well, I think that's the thing. I think that it was kind of in a lose-lose situation.
Oh yeah,
right?
They were definitely lose-lose.
Either you cast a white guy and you lose out your diversity thing, or you cast an Asian actor and then it's the stereotypical Asian actor who knows martial arts.
Yeah, and then people are mad that you're stereotyping.
So,
Asian.
Superhero News, their YouTube show, they actually talked about it better than anybody else that I've actually heard talk about it, and they were talking about how if you deal with the fact that Danny Rand, he's from the United States, but he lives in Kunlun, and then he comes back and he's dealing with the issue of your what's actually your home, what's your heritage, that type of thing. If they deal with that, I think it'd make for a very good, a very interesting storyline, just like Jessica Jones dealt with sexual assault and all that kind of stuff.
Culture stuff.
And then Daredevil dealt with the difference in class, the rich. Yeah,
gentrification.
So
big thing.
So I think
that gun control is going to be this season's big thing too.
And Netflix has the ability to touch on these types of issues. So I think it's going to, if they handle it in that way, I think people are going to understand it a little bit better. Plus, you're going to have a lot of Asian actors in that show because of Kunlun.
Yeah,
and I forget the character's name that they said will also be in it, but I can't remember. But he's also an Asian character, so you're gonna have Asian characters in the movie. So it's just a how they deal with it.
Yeah, like you said, it was lose for them. No matter how they cast it, someone was gonna be upset.
All right, and moving on. Even though Assassin's Creed we haven't even had a trailer for Assassin's Creed.
No, not at all.
But apparently they are gearing up for Assassin's Creed 2, and Michael Fassbender is returning. What are your thoughts on the Assassin's Creed becoming a movie and them already greenlighting a sequel?
It's not my favorite series.
Oh, really? I love the games.
I loved 1, 2, and Brotherhood.
Okay.
They lost me after Brotherhood.
Yeah. I can see what you're saying, because the storyline did kind of like dissipate from that.
Well,
but
and the gameplay, they never evolved the gameplay either. I started playing Assassin's Creed 3, and there was a sequence on a boat where I was sword fighting a guy, and I kicked at a 90-degree angle to him, and he doubled over, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like, because at that point I was also playing the Arkham games where the fighting is really smooth.
Oh yeah.
And so when that happened, I'm like, I'm taking this back.
See, personally, I liked Unity. I liked Assassin's Creed 3. I liked Syndicate. A lot of people had bug issues with Unity.
Yeah, Unity. I remember there being
Syndicate, I really enjoy because it has both a male and female protagonist, and you're able to switch off between the two whenever you wanted. And I thought, and they both had specific skill sets. Like Jacob Fry, the male, he was very much a brawler, and Evie Fry, she was very much a stealth type character. And she was also like always having to clean up after her brother, so I thought that was interesting and kind of funny.
As far as the movie goes, like I always thought it was interesting that they were even making the movie, and then I like how they're doing it apart from it's in the Assassin's Creed universe, but you're not getting a retelling of those games.
But they said that you might see some of those characters pop in. I would love to see Ezio.
Right, I'm okay with some crossover because that solidifies it as being part of the universe.
Yeah.
But
very
I don't want to
much
see a straight adaptation of Desmond Miles' story.
Very much unlike the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because they never really have TV show characters show up in the movies. It's very much one-sided. But yeah, I'm excited to see Assassin's Creed. I have faith in it because you have Michael Fassbender, you have the director that worked with him on Macbeth, and also I think the actress worked on Macbeth as well. And I heard good things about that movie, so I'm excited to see what they do with Assassin's Creed. I love the Assassin's Creed video game franchise, and I think that it has great potential to be a great movie franchise. So I can't wait to see what they do story-wise.
Like I said, especially since they're not trying to rehash those.
They're not tied down to it.
They're not like, hey, here's this story you've played already. Let's do a movie of it. Like, here's this story that's in that universe, but not something.
I think Assassin's Creed is a great idea for a movie, but you don't have to shackle yourself by what's happening in the games.
Yeah, they freed themselves up, and I love that.
All right, and quickly, the Star Wars Blu-ray has details have come out, and I'm super excited for the special features that it has listed on the Star Wars Blu-ray. So if I can read some of them off. Secrets of the Force Awakens: The Cinematic Journey. So it's the story behind making the Force Awakens with in-depth footage, exclusive interviews, and it's basically a featured documentary. Not just a 10 to 20 minute thing. It's a featured documentary of the Force Awakens. It doesn't have a time or a time limit on what that feature will be, but I feel like if it's a featured documentary, it's going to be a long documentary. Then the story awakens the table read. So you're going to be able to go through and the cast members are going to talk and reflect about the table read, and I really hope that we actually get to see some of the table read. I think that would be amazing. There's an iconic picture where the whole cast is together, and even Luke, even Mark Hamill is there, and there was like this meme that I saw online where it's like, I shouldn't even be, I don't even have to be here because he doesn't say anything, so he literally has nothing to read. Building BB-8, crafting creatures, blueprint of a battle, the snow fight, John Williams, the Seventh Symphony, ILM, the visual magic of the Force, Force for Change, plus deleted scenes. And that begs the question of whether deleted scenes are canon or not. But, I mean, these special features are amazing, and I cannot wait for it to come out on April 5th. Is when the DVD and Blu-ray combo pack come out. You can get it for digital on April 1st. But are you as excited as I am for these special features?
Oh, yes, definitely. And, see, my girlfriend works at Target, just like you do, and Target's got some exclusive special features on theirs as well.
Like 20 extra minutes, I think.
So I'm very much looking forward to getting my hands on that version of it as well.
Yeah, I think it's this cover too.
Yeah, special packaging.
That cover looks amazing. I love it because it's basically like those posters. But yeah, super exciting. I can't wait for this movie to come out on Blu-ray. I've seen it 2 times in the theaters. I wasn't able to go see it more because
I saw it twice too.
I had to watch my finances, but yeah, I can't wait to be able to like watch it freeze frame and like watch that scene where she's having like that vision when she touches the lightsaber. I can't wait to watch that scene multiple times
and be able to stop it and analyze it.
Yeah, and listen to things over and over again to see, because apparently like Yoda's voice is in it. Obi-Wan's voice is in it.
Stuff we didn't catch because you're watching it full speed.
Yeah. Like I know Ewan McGregor did some voiceover for that scene.
But I didn't.
And also they took a line from I can't remember the actor's name who played the original Obi-Wan, but he has this line in one of the movies where he says "afraid," and they used the RAI for the Ray, so he could say Ray in the movie, which is super interesting. But that does it for our quick hits. Let's move on to a question that we got from a viewer. All right, so this question comes from C. He's asked us a lot of questions in the past, and his question says, do you think, as I do, that it would be great to have a one-off Injustice League movie? And question 2, do you think that Warner Brothers and DC is holding back Green Lantern for more intergalactic showdowns later in the DCU? He says that would make sense to me to introduce Earthbound heroes and expand to the outer regions of the galaxy. It'd be kind of like when the Vulcans noticed that the humans had developed warp drive engines capabilities, and now it's time to introduce them to the greater universe. Thanks, and keep up the good work. And then actually there's another kind of comparison that you can make with what Thor said in the original, in the first Avengers movies. He said that, trying to harness the power of the cube lets the rest of the galaxy know that the Earth is ready for a higher form of war.
Right.
So, first off, do you think that they'll do a one-off Injustice League movie?
I think it would be cool for them to do it, but they need to do some more building first.
I would say that I don't think that they're going to do it because I think it'd be too confusing for the average moviegoer.
Right, especially Injustice League.
Because it has Superman, it has all those characters, but from I guess they could do it as a Justice League film because it does involve heroes from our universe, our heroes, and then it also involves like another pocket universe type thing. I think they could do it. I don't think that they will, at least not anytime soon.
No, not because it would be
they have so many characters. They have so many characters that they can use without using the same characters just from a different universe.
Ultraman and Superwoman.
Yeah, they could definitely use. I mean, because they have Brainiac, they have Darkseid, they have
Well, and apart from the Flash TV show, they've not even begun to discuss multiverse issues yet.
Yeah,
and that's why I said it would take a lot of building. Because if they're going to do this separate thing where the movies and the TV are completely different entities, then they definitely need some time to build up the multiverse idea in the movies.
Yeah.
They've already basically slapped everyone in the face with it on Flash. Like, hey, there's multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
And
they've been doing it kind of slowly and kind of in layman's terms, so people who aren't into comics who are watching the show kind of understand what's going on.
Right, like the concept of Earth 2, Earth 3, Earth whatever, is foreign to the
They've only really dealt with Earth 2 so far.
Right.
So there's things going on in the show right now that kind of make me wonder if they will deal with other Earths as well, but that's yet to be seen. And then the second question about holding back Green Lantern to kind of expand later with more intergalactic showdowns. I think it has less to do with that and more to do with the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie. And, I'm over that movie by now, but I think that DC still is kind of licking their wounds from that one.
They still feel it.
Because that was supposed to be the start of a new cinematic universe for them. They were trying to get a cinematic universe back then with that Green Lantern movie, and they botched it.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was just like Galactus was a giant purple cloud.
Yeah.
Parallax was a giant poo cloud, basically, is what people call it. So
that was awful.
And Ryan Reynolds was the least of the problems in that movie.
Right.
I actually liked Ryan Reynolds as Hal Jordan.
Yeah. He did good as Hal, but that costume and the writing and the special effects, just
my favorite part of that movie is when basically the training montage.
Right. Yeah.
That was,
they sped through his.
You got Kilowog in there, training him and stuff. I thought that was super interesting.
And it was really cute that they thought there was going to be a sequel with the Sinestro thing.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't blame him. I liked Mark Strong. Strong in that role. I would have loved to see him as.
Everyone for the most part in it did a good job with what they had to work with.
Yeah.
But they just weren't given anything to work with.
Yeah, I liked Mark Strong as Sinestro though. I would have liked to see that.
That is actually a shame that he's pretty much done.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a Sinestro Mark Strong.
Yeah. I mean, there's even less chance of him coming back as Sinestro than there was as J.K. Simmons coming back as J. Jonah Jameson.
Right, yeah.
Actually, I think there's a less chance of Mark Strong coming back as Sinestro right now than there is with J.K. Simmons coming back as
Right.
J. Jonah Jameson, and he's in the DC universe, so you know it's not happening. So it's like it's even less for that. But
they had potential and they dropped the ball.
yeah, so I think I would love to see Green Lantern show up in the Justice League, either Part 1 or Part 2. I think it's more likely Part 2. But even they said that he might not even show up
Well,
for that.
as far I know, they haven't even picked a guy to play him yet.
Yeah.
Like I've heard names thrown around. Like, are they going to do Jon Stewart? Are they doing Kyle Rayner? Which one are they doing?
Yeah.
Are they doing all of them? Because I've heard rumors of a Green Lantern Corps film.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard Tyrese Gibson thrown out as Jon Stewart.
Well, that's because he's
himself.
Yeah, he's
throwing
trying.
his name
Yeah.
out there. But,
Yeah. I like Tyrese Gibson, but I don't see him as.
I don't see him as Jon Stewart. No.
He's too much of a jokester to play.
Jon Stewart's a very serious guy.
Yeah. Well, I think there was one other question that I didn't add to this, but it was. I think they were asking like, what was your favorite movie so far? But I think we both kind of agree that it's Deadpool, right, for the year.
Yeah, Deadpool's my favorite.
What are you looking forward to the most of the superhero movies this year? Which one are you looking forward to the most? Now that we've gotten past Deadpool,
that's rough.
we have BVS, we have Civil War, we have Apocalypse, we have Doctor Strange.
Have you heard about the production of that? Shouldn't they be wrapping it up soon if it's going to make its release date?
What?
Doctor Strange.
Because
I know they're shooting.
Yeah,
they've been shooting for a while.
They've been shooting for a while,
but I haven't heard. Hey, we're done.
No, I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that they're done shooting. But I wouldn't be surprised if we got a trailer during Civil War.
I hope we do.
That would be amazing.
At least a teaser. I'd be okay with the teaser.
Have you seen the set photos?
I've seen some of them.
Like his collar actually looks higher in the set photos than they do in the promotional image that they released.
I'm looking forward to that one only because I don't know Strange very well at all.
I've been reading his current run of comics. I read some of the Oath on Marvel Unlimited. I really like the character. The current run of the comics is actually I really enjoy the storyline. So
like I've always liked him as a supporting character, like in Civil War.
Yeah, I really loved.
War.
I hope we get a post credit scene or like a pre credit scene, like where. In the Civil War comics, like he like stays out of it all, and he's just like meditating. And like Wong asked him, like, what side are you meditating to win? And he's like, whatever means like the less casualties or whatever's better for mankind or whatever the line was. I don't remember exactly.
I know what line you're getting at.
Yeah, but I would love to see that in like if that was just like a little quick like thing.
Yeah, like kind of like that the Nick Fury reveal at the end of Incredible Hulk, where it's just this real quick little, hey, look, it's Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Oh, what's funny is I was watching the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans, and they actually referenced Doctor Strange.
Yeah, his name's been mentioned lots over the last 15, 16 years.
In Spider-Man 2, right? They're trying to come up with a name for Doc Ock, and I was like, Doctor Strange? And he's just like, that's good, but it's already taken.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm just like, oh, man, that's awesome. I didn't, like, I completely missed that the last time I watched it.
I want to say it's neck and neck between Civil War and BVS as far as which one I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
And that's not just because they're both right around the corner.
Yeah.
But, like, I love the characters involved in both those so much, especially Batman and Captain America. I'm an Iron Man fan too, but I do side with Cap on this particular issue.
I think that's a great thing about the comics and the movie. They're doing a great job of setting up both sides as being a very valid viewpoint.
Yeah, you can
of
understand
the
why
life.
they both feel the way they do.
Yeah.
And,
like, I mean, Tony created Ultron, so he's like, look, we have to be in check. I have to be in check.
Yeah.
Like, I screwed up.
Yeah. Which is rare for Tony to say those words, that I screwed up.
Well, even in the trailer, he's like, we have to, we have to be under check. Like, whatever form that takes, I'm game. Like, and it makes sense. Oh, something that I didn't mention about the trailer: that floating prison. Do you think that's the raft?
I think it's their version of the raft.
Yeah. I saw that. I'm like, I was talking about on the trailer reaction that I did, and I called it the barge because I couldn't think of what it was. But I'm like, well, the raft, the barge, they're both floating things, and it makes
I think it's their version of the raft.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go to answer your question. I'm gonna go Civil War by a hair.
Okay.
Because we've had those characters for longer.
Yeah, I thought this question would be easier to answer before I asked it, but now that I've been like thinking about it since you've been talking, I'm like, man, I love this Batman.
Because I can give all sorts of reasons. Apocalypse is probably the last one.
Yeah.
Strange beats Apocalypse because it's a new commodity. It's
magic.
Yeah. They're bringing magic because we've got Scarlet Witch, but now we're actually going to have magic with Doctor Strange.
For
Batman vs Superman, because I'm a DC guy first and foremost, but it's the second movie in the series.
Yeah.
Whereas Civil War's 13 or 14.
Yeah, well, we have a lot more emotional connection, and I think that's what does it for me. I think I'm more excited for Civil War because of the emotional connection that I have with the characters. Although, just like you, it's by a hair because I liked Man of Steel. I'm excited to see Henry Cavill come back as Superman, But this Batman that we're getting blows my mind. And I really love what Jeremy Irons is doing with Alfred.
Yes.
I can't wait to see that.
I'm actually surprised by that because, like, I like Jeremy Irons as an actor.
Yeah.
But when they cast him as Alfred, I was like, really? Jeremy Irons as Alfred?
Yeah. But now that you see kind of like what they're going for, you kind I kind of like what they're going with. Yeah. But that's going to do it for this episode of Movieverse Movie News. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you follow Shad over on Polynerdic on Twitter, Facebook, WordPress.
Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, WordPress. And on Twitch, but with _SY, Polynerdic _SY on Twitch. That's where I live stream video games.
Okay. And then make sure you're following us, Movieverse, on YouTube, youtube.com/MovieverseOnline, Facebook.com/MovieverseOnline, Twitter, Movieverse2, Instagram, MovieverseOnline, and also MovieverseOnline.com, so you can see all of what he's writing, and it's very good stuff. Like,
Thank you.
Like I'm not even kidding. I actually really enjoy reading your articles when I'm reviewing them. And yeah, so make sure you guys subscribe to this channel, like this video, comment down below what you thought of any of the topics that we discussed today, and what are your thoughts on the viewer questions that we answered. I'd love to hear your guys' input, and I'd love to interact with you guys when you comment down below. So like I said, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and we will catch you next time.